What's another doctrine or and it doesn't have to be a doctrine. It could be just something about his style or who he is or what topics he chooses to talk about or the way that he's done ministry, his church, like whatever. Yeah. What's something else that you would say, hey, I respectfully disagree with this?
Sure. No, that's great. So, obviously there's going to be things that people say that you're like, yeah, I wouldn't have said it that way. I don't really want to talk about that because there's some stylistic things that like people don't like about me that they wouldn't say it the way I say it. And it's like, okay, but does that make it wrong? Like, okay, whatever. So let's just set that stuff aside. Like he uses weird words that I would never use. Fine.
Yeah.
So I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, but so yeah, no, I think sometimes, and this is going to probably confuse some people, but I think sometimes Doug will try to he'll try to be a little too nuanced to be and I'll give you an example. Like this is something where I'm going to take the W on this one because this is the one time that I was right and Doug was wrong. So it's like AD 1. Doug Wilson, 20,000, right?
Yeah.
So I got my 1 point.
But you got to hold on to that one.
I'm going to hold on to this point.
Yeah, you got.
But anyway, so it was in the beginning of COVID, right? So COVID was brand new. We're talking probably like May or June of last year. So it was still pretty new, like only a few months in. And people were closing their churches. It was probably earlier than that now that I think about it. But people were closing their churches and some people were saying, well, the government has the authority to tell you to shut down your church in the name of safety. And Doug had said that, we should have this posture of submission. And so like, if it gets too crazy, maybe we don't listen, but like he was trying to thread this needle where it's so nuanced, where it's like, and the example he used was that if your church is on fire and the fire marshal comes in and says, hey, you need to leave because the church is on fire, then he has the authority to make you leave. Or like if there's an air raid coming and they tell you to, stop meeting for church because there's an air raid, like they have the authority to do that. And at the time I was like, I kind of see what he's saying, right? But he's wrong because they don't actually have that authority, but you'd be an idiot to not leave the church if it's on fire, right? So you should leave the church when it's on fire, not because Caesar has the authority to shut your church down, but because, you're not stupid and you don't want people to die in your church that's on fire currently.
Right.
So anyway, so like, and I don't think he was really saying that, but he was trying to give this point about submission to authority is like a posture, and he's being very nuanced about it. I think sometimes, Doug, this is going to confuse people. I think sometimes he's too nuanced with the way he talks, and it's actually confusing. So anyway, he later recanted that belief. He said, well, yeah, I was being too, he put it as too reasonable. He was being too reasonable.
Right. That is
I would say too nuanced.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, he actually is a very nuanced person. He gets this reputation of being like this serrated edge. He never has any nuance. I think this guy is like consummately nuanced, sometimes too much.
Right.
And so I would criticize that about him sometimes, where it's like, no, less nuance would be helpful here.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. He's super nuanced. People are going to criticize him for not being nuanced and he's too harsh or he's too matter of fact. But no, I think he's super nuanced. And I think the reason why is because he's super thoughtful. Like I'll never forget, he was doing, it was at a
I think
university.
He's recanted though. I think he said that reasonable man was,
that's what he said,
was killed by a couple of gunshots to the head, which is to say he died of COVID.
That's what he said. Yeah.
He's been sufficiently radicalized by the last 2 years.
That's right. And, but again, I think he would still hold to that position. And I think I actually would hold there too. And just saying that, all right, 3 sovereign spheres, home, church, and state with some overlap, right? So like in the home, it's like the state doesn't have authority over my kids. However, there is a point where if the parents are physically, seriously, not just the Me Too culture that we live in where everything is abuse, but no, legitimate abusing, serial abusers, physical abusers of their children, then the state, that's an overlap then, and the state actually then has the authority to take that child away from those parents. And so I do think that when it comes to, there is a certain level of overlap. Now, whether or not, infectious diseases fit that bill, with a church, and does that overlap? There's questions there. But for Doug's position, he was just saying, I still actually hold to this. So I don't even think he really recanted. I think what he's saying is, I still hold to this, but the state has drained every ounce of its credibility to where the reason, like, this is still my technical position, but they're all liars. So I just wouldn't believe it.
I can't even get my 1 point. Is that what you're telling me, Joel?
My dad. Yeah, we'll give that maybe half a point,
Half a point. I'll take
like,
half.
It's like a Catholic baptism. It's like half a baptism.
Deal. I'll take it.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, would you consider supporting this ministry by giving a donation of any amount? You can do so by going to our website, rightresponseministries.com. Let's be frank. Sadly, many evangelical pastors and leaders are serving as nothing more than water carriers for the political left. Just as those in the political left hate you, just like those corporations that are left-leaning hate you, these pastors and evangelical leaders hate you. I know that's a strong statement to make. I'm aware of that, but it's true. They don't care about your personal liberty. They don't care about your freedom. They want you to love your neighbor at the expense of biblical truth, even if it means bearing false witness. That's not us. We're different. We're not the only ones. I don't want to be arrogant. God has reserved a remnant for himself in this time, as he has all other ages and all other places, but they are few and far between. It's called a remnant for a reason. We need your help. We want to stand up to tyranny. We want to stand up to this new left totalitarian regime. We want to defend Christians and people, the salt of the earth, who love America and who love God's word. But we can't do it without your help. If you're not prepared or able to give a financial gift, one way that you can support this ministry is by simply subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking the bell so that you'll be notified as we come out with new content. You can also help us by sharing our content on all your social media platforms so that more people can hear the truth of God's word with courage and fidelity. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.